America is a country that was founded for the purpose of allowing Christians to do their duty before God and not to have their consciences ruled by the doctrines and commandments of men. Reese Fund exists in order to see the 10 Commandments properly applied, not just as a plaque on the wall, but to actually be used in business as though they're commandments from God that we're supposed to obey. Our goal is to find businesses and to buy them and to build them up. We want to find manufacturing businesses and use them to make sure that we can maintain our capacity to do things here. Reese Fund, Christian capital, boldly deployed.
Did it again, fast.
I know.
I like it.
I'm right on it.
Yes. Let's not waste any time.
Hello, y'all. Welcome to Water Break. It's good to be back in the studio with you. Last week we were off because we were at the Fight Laugh Feast conference in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah, with a lot of you.
Man, it was great to meet a lot of you. And it's always like, often you just talk on the mic, and then you meet those who listen, and it's really encouraging,
I met face-to-face a couple ladies who are doing my online strength training program who I had never seen their face before, and it was actually really amazing.
Okay.
It was really cool.
My voice is still apparently...
Yeah, it's still recovering. It was pretty...
recovering.
You almost lost it completely.
I was almost done.
By the end of that conference. So that's just it's a lot.
I'm actually getting on and sharing the show, and that's why you kind of see me doing some of the stuff. So if you guys want to be in a conversation with us, email us at RenchMedia@gmail.com. And then, of course, my wife's website is Annie Wrench, just a RenchNoW, AnnieWrench.com. And then the best place to follow her is on Instagram and me on Twitter and everything. So if you really want to follow me on Twitter, it's amazing. It's a wild ride.
I don't follow you on Twitter.
No, you aren't even on Twitter.
No,
I think I got you an account a long time ago.
I don't understand who has time for it. I kind of understand.
I should start tweeting for you with your voice and.
Oh my gosh.
There's
no voice. Like, what do you mean?
I create your own Twitter voice.
What do you mean when you say voice?
Like your persona, your Twitter persona, your Twitter
I don't even know
voice,
the lingo. Like, you're not talking on Twitter, but if you started doing that, I don't know what I feel like. I don't know what I feel about that. Mm-hmm. On the one hand, it'd be hilarious. On the other hand,
I think it'd be pretty.
I don't even like it when you order food for me.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't.
So I don't know but I think I could do you on Twitter really well.
That's fine.
I think I could be you in a day. Like, easy.
I should give you access to my Twitter account.
And I don't even think I'd need to know politically.
Sometime when we're on vacation, we have some time to
I don't even think I need to know what was going on politically that much.
Yeah.
But I could do it.
Yeah.
I could be like, this is what Gabe Wrench would say. And I would misspell a few things.
Yeah. Just on purpose.
Just like a couple.
Because you want to sell it. You want to sell the effort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if it was too, grammatically correct, people would be like, who is this?
I tell my girls' basketball team, because we're working on fake passes, fake pumps this week, and pump fakes, and
every year,
all that stuff every year. And I tell them, I'm like, make me believe you, because they'll kind of go through the motions,
Yes.
Like look up, look like you care, make me believe you.
What's the point of a pump fake? You have to actually fake.
You got to make it look real.
Don't go through the motions, you guys.
You could do that.
Yeah, I can do it. I could actually do really well, I think.
So we had a good time at the conference. What did you think of the Fight Laugh Feast conference?
I had a great time.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to compare because we've done in the past.
We had the ARC encounter last year.
Yeah, the ARC was amazing. That was one where and so it was more like, for me, like educational.
Yeah.
Like I was literally like it was almost like sitting down, not all the talks, but it was like lecture almost, but really interesting.
Really
so like listening to Ken Ham, listening to Gordon Wilson. Yeah. So like, and I think I caught most of the talks. The kids were with me, but it was there was tons to do. So we missed a few, but I think I thought it was really great. It was educational. In some of the conferences in the past, I've been working more.
Yeah, you don't do that anymore.
Working merch or just doing things in the background before we were more fully staffed like we are now. So it's hard for me to compare because I just didn't always catch all the talks, and I caught almost all of them this time. And I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I still think Steve Dace's was my favorite. I mean, there's a lot of good ones. He's so good. He's so good. And his stuff at the end, I just was like, oh my gosh, when are those going to drop so that I can see? Did you hear me use that right word?
Mm-hmm.
When are they going to drop so that I can share them with
the content? When are they going to drop the content?
Sorry, the content.
Yeah.
But can we create a situation where I can just share certain talks? Like if I want to give George Grant's talk to someone, can I do that?
Yeah, you got to be a club member because we use that content for club membership. So you can share it and then they could join the club even better.
I'm sure you can figure out a way for me to share it.
I don't know. Maybe
He will.
it's possible. Let's get off that subject. Join the club. Just join the friggin' club, and you'll be fine.
It's true. That's the best way.
Join.
Join. We do want you to join the club.
Yeah.
Are you doing Trump hands?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Man,
I can't do anything.
it's been a huge weekend. We did the conference.
Yeah.
Trump.
And then Trump
Did something else happen?
Trump became president.
Trump became president, which is kind
He's
of a
not
big deal.
president yet, but president-elect.
President-elect, yeah.
But I mean, he basically became the president because Biden's not the president right now. So Trump is the president.
I'm just so
basically.
relieved. I just feel like everybody's so unhinged. I really didn't know what was going to happen. And I just know I want my grocery bill to go down.
Seriously.
So bad.
Seriously.
So,
Yeah.
But yeah, big weekend.
So what are we going to talk about today, baby? Playing into that, Trump's already, RFK. I mean, I think there's a lot of interesting things that can happen in the health world.
That way, they're talking. Joe Saladin,
Saladin from
is it Joe? Did I say
Joseph,
that right?
Joe.
Yeah, I think it's Joe.
Joel.
It's Joel. I knew it was a J name. Regenerative farming, blah, blah, blah. Heather told me that Canon did a really cool documentary on him.
They
Have
sure
you seen
did.
it?
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but yeah, they filmed it. I did see they filmed it.
I didn't know about
It's in your Canon app.
See, apparently I have it. So I need to, guys, go watch that. But anyways, he's getting called on, and obviously RFK is up there. I hope they just unleash him.
Yeah.
On the,
and it sounds like Trump's gonna do it.
He has his lanes he wants him to be in.
You were asleep when I was covering the election. It was like 2 and 1 in the morning. It was midnight, 11 o'clock our time, which is like 2 a.m. Florida time when Trump did his announcement speech or his
his acceptance speech. Is that what you call? I heard it was hilarious.
And he said, I'm so excited. RFK is gonna, work on and make us healthy again. Yeah. He said, but don't touch our oil.
Yeah.
Don't touch our oil, our liquid gold.
Yeah.
Don't touch our gold.
He's been very open about it. He's like, RFK is going to do this. We're not going to let him come over here and
that's right.
Mess up.
Which is fantastic.
But it sounds like they're both being honest with each other, which is probably the best way to go. But I'm hoping for huge changes on the nutrition pharmaceutical front. I mean, they're talking that way. They're going to have the ability.
More transparency.
If they squander it, those 4 years, I'm going to be really disappointed. I'm going to be really disappointed.
Even if he does a quarter of what he's been talking about, it would still be pretty amazing.
Well, I've never, all the people I listen to, in the health and nutrition space, I've never ever in my life heard so many people who normally would span all different walks of beliefs and, political leanings. They are all stoked that Trump is elected simply because of this. They're just like, we are so glad
for the health stuff.
Because there's like literally never been another, presidential candidate, or at least the guys surrounding him talking about the state of American health. Because that's really the biggest problem, right? It's our health and the idea that, our food and our pharma and just all of that is the culprit for it. But our health is so bad and just like nobody's talking about it.
Yeah. My goodness.
And so they're just like, yes, vote him in. So I've just never lived in a moment like this. And I'm really curious. I'm very curious to see what happens.
Well, it's interesting because like Trump is not the machine. A lot of Republicans and a lot of Democrats are the machine. So while they talk a game of like, we're going to fix this and this and this, the economy, whatever, it's like Trump's not part of the machine, and he really will do a lot of what he said.
I hope so.
And then he got elected pretty strongly.
Yeah.
So he kind of has a free mandate to kind of like, we elected you to do all this.
You better deliver.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Anyways.
All right. So with that said, what are we going to talk about today, baby?
I wanted to talk about nutritional tracking your food. Usually when I say that it means using like an app on your phone.
Okay.
And why a lot of you might actually want to spend a season doing it. And I know that's kind of like,
don't do it for 5 years. Do it for a little bit.
So many things. I know this is kind of a weird topic. And part of me is like, I even hate talking about it, but actually it's something that I do think is very important, very needed. And it's something that my mind has changed on over, especially I would say over the last 3 to 4 years. And that time frame coincides with when I really started taking a hard bend towards more nutrition and lifestyle coaching. Yeah. Like I've said on previous shows, simply because there was so much need for it. Before that, whilst I would talk about nutrition a little, I would dabble in it a little. I was very like exercise, personal training, doesn't matter. Well, I didn't think it didn't matter. I just didn't bother with it. And I finally just got to the point where it's like, okay, you cannot get people to their goals unless we really address nutrition.
Unless nutrition's involved in that conversation.
And even farther than that. And part of it's probably just because I've gotten older too. I'm 39 now. A lot of my clients have, are similar. Not all of them. And some are younger, some are older. But like you get to this point in life, you can't get away with it anymore. And you start having all these problems. And sometimes it's like exercise is not the answer. Like, you shouldn't be exercising right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's how bad your health is, or that's how high your stress levels are, or like you're actually making it worse. So anyways, I really used to not go there very much. And that very much fit with my lifestyle of just literally eating, but mostly whatever I wanted, and then just burning it off in the gym.
Which was your old way of doing things, but also,
things, yeah.
you know, when you're 25,
you can
30,
get away with it. Yeah, you can get away with it. And that's what so many young people do. While I understand that, and you know what I mean? And there is something to be said about being young and just being able to kind of do that. I still don't recommend it. And when I am talking to younger people, like, you know, teens, oh man, even when I talk to teens, like in a school setting, or, you know, young adults, young marrieds, I do tell them, you guys don't look at eating trash as like working for you. Look at it as like you're getting away with it now. You're in okay health despite what you're doing, not because of it, right? I mean, and then just think, what are these habits, and how are these bad choices going to compound over the years? And do you want to deal with the dumpster fire that a lot of us get in like more midlife, you know? So anyways, it matters. So all that to say, I used to be really against tracking. I thought it was annoying. I thought it was obnoxious. People who track all the time and are weighing their food and are doing all those things are super annoying. I still think that. And it's okay. Like, I think we need to have a sense of humor about it, because just like any tool, you can obsess, you can idolize, you can take it too far. And I'm certainly not suggesting that, but I'm just trying to explain to you guys that I'm coming from the other side. Like, it took a long time for me to be like, okay, maybe this is more valuable than I thought. So anyways, I actually have gotten to the point, my mind has changed a little bit on the tracking thing. I actually think most of us, at any point in our life, honestly, but especially if you're like, you know, later 30s, 40s, 50s, and maybe you're not in the state of health that you'd like to be in. Most people aren't. Yeah. I mean, there are some people who are like, I'm good. And then if that's you, that's great. It might be fun to track just to get a baseline, kind of like blood work. Like, even if you feel good, it's actually good to get that annual blood work done anyways, just to know what your baseline is, so that if things start to change, you can kind of see trajectories. But most people are not. Most people have a couple of health issues. They're not sleeping well. Their weight's creeping up. Their energy's low. You know, there's all those normal symptoms that normally just come along with, you know, people just say it's part of getting older, but you know, like we talked about, doesn't have to.
And tracking, you know, obviously you can take it all the wrong ways, and you can be, you know, just ridiculous about it and stuff like that. Totally. But even like, you know, every 5 years, I'll take a day or two and write down every, you know, 15 minutes what I accomplished. You know, what did I do? And, you know, do that throughout the whole day.
Say you write down your nutrition. I'm like,
no, I've never done that. I've never done that. This is something I probably should do for you too.
Our show.
I should
you journal, like you journal.
I should do what you say, what we say here. But you journal every 15 minutes, like, okay, what did I accomplish that day? You know, every 15 minutes. So you kind of really get an idea. Okay, are you actually lying to yourself about how much you get on your phone or Twitter or what, you know?
Oh man, that's some of the points that I was going to make. It's probably, like you just said, a good idea to take this principle and apply it to everything, because it really does. It can create some serious awareness. It can create more mindfulness. Like, there's a lot of reasons to do it. Totally. No, I totally agree with you. So I'm just going to give out, I think there's a bunch of different reasons to track. But I'm going to give out the top 4 reasons that I think people,
can I see your notes,
especially people my age, just keep where I can see it, because I haven't read it since I wrote it. Okay. Should possibly take a season of time. And guys, when I say that, I don't mean forever. I don't even mean 6 months. I mean, take a week of normal eating and just track accurately on an app. And we have it so easy. There's so many apps you can download on your phone. There's My Plate. There's My Fitness Pal is really popular. Okay. Chronometer is another that's a newer one. Okay. And a lot of these are free, or like you pay $2.99 or something for an upgrade. You know what I mean? It's very low entry. It's not that hard. They're fairly user friendly. You just have to get on there, orient yourself. It's like super easy. Back in the day, you used to have to, there was this book, like this huge book. I don't remember what it was called, but all the fitnessy people like in the 90s had this, and literally you would be like, I ate a banana. And you would look up that food like you'd look something up in an encyclopedia. And then you'd write down, you know, your total calories and your calories from sugar and your calories from fiber, whatever. It was so arduous and like, it was terrible. Now it's like pretty dang easy. So anyways, I'm just saying it's not that hard. And
Yeah,
you can
because
just
they have
do
all
it
the
on
food in the app, and
Oh,
you say,
yeah.
I had 1 half-pound burger.
Yeah, now
You
you
know?
do need to be accurate.
Yeah.
And that's its own separate issue.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to be accurate.
But you can select the burger, and it'll say, hey, there's
Oh,
what
yeah.
you ate,
Yeah,
right?
you
Or
need
you can
to-
select the pickle or
Yeah.
the steak, whatever.
It's just, yeah.
And
I
it adds it up for
and
you.
then a
That's
lot
cool.
of times you have repeat foods like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
do that 2 eggs every day. So you just, it's like copy paste. It's
Ding,
really fast.
ding,
It's
ding,
not
ding.
that bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, it's annoying, but it's not that hard.
Yeah.
So all that to say, I'm going to give the top 4. There's
Okay.
many more, I'm sure.
Let's go.
Top 4 reasons that I think you might want to track your nutrition for a week, for a month, whatever it
Mhm.
takes. Okay. Number 1 is a really obvious one. Maybe you're overeating. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, no duh, right? But it's actually really interesting to me. I now, when I do health consults for nutrition, I won't do one. I won't do an in-depth consult without prereqs being done. One of those is they have to fill out a pretty in-depth questionnaire just to fill out sleep, supplementation,
Right.
health history. All I just want to see all of that.
Yeah.
They have to get their blood work to me, and I have a specific list of things that I want to see because that's huge. You know, is your insulin a 40 or is it a 2? That's really going to change what I tell you to do. And then lastly, they have to track on my app for 5 days.
So you'll send them a link, download this app,
Yeah.
and I'll be able to connect you, and then I'll be able to
I have a
see
software.
basically a week's worth of meal planning or whatever.
Just normal eating. And I
Yeah.
always say, because it's hard, I'm like, just eat normal. Don't
Yep.
clean it up. Don't
Yep.
be good. Don't
Just
be
be
weird.
you. Just
And
be
women
you.
have a really hard time with that. They're like, I'm trying to just be normal, but I'm thinking about it. And that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons tracking is so effective, because
Yeah.
it makes you think about the things you put in your face. But anyways, I won't even work with someone on the nutritional front without them tracking, because people so often are so off
Yeah.
in their, guesstimation
Right.
of what they're eating, like the quality and content of their food, nutrient wise, and then the amount.
Right.
And it's bad. And I will say, with men, overeating is more common because dudes just tend to just eat. They don't have years of diet culture in their background causing them to be like, oh my God. And there isn't the social pressure on them as much to like be thin in their 40s. Like there just isn't, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like women just tend to just care a lot more and feel a lot more pressure. And they've usually, I find them at 42 and they've been dieting since they were like 15, what I mean? So,
and that's caused probably some of the problems.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And we'll get to that with number 2. But in
right.
terms of overeating, when I do every once in a while, like just some mom, I'll be working with her and she's like, I don't understand. I'm 30 pounds overweight. I can't lose weight no matter what I do. I feel like I'm eating really clean. I just don't get it. And I'm like, okay. It's like, I believe you, but like, I want track. I'm not going to go off what you think or say. Most people are not lying. I don't think most people pay a lot of money to someone to go lie to them. That would be crazy. Right. But I think a lot of people are just truly misled about what is actually going into their mouth on a daily basis. So anyways, I would say it's not as common with women, but every once in a while, 5 days of tracking will come in and it'll be like 3,200 calories, 3,500 calories high, which actually is super exciting because overeating, if you're wanting to lose weight and get healthier, coming from a place of eating a lot, it's way easier to deal with that than it is someone who's under eating. And I'm usually like, when I see that, I get excited because I'm like, this is going to be such an easy fix because you're eating so much food and all you need to do is tweak what you're eating, probably bring your calories down a little bit. Maybe let's put a little strategic exercise in there and you're going to be good to go. And that's awesome. It means their metabolic rate is undamaged usually, and they're actually in a really good place to lose weight. But a lot of those women though, they'll come back, they'll message me on the app after they've done their 5 days and they're like, wow, I actually did not realize I was eating so much, because it just, you don't, and again, it's not bad to eat a lot. And I think it's ideal to eat a lot and move a lot. That's what I think. That's where I want to get. Like, I am just done with the whole thing about like, how can I eat less? How can I fast more? How can I go more low calorie? How can I, it's a terrible way to live. And all it does down the road is drive your metabolic rate lower and lower. It works in the short term. And I get it because you get desperate sometimes when you're already kind of in a bad spot and you're like, well, I'm going to eat even less. I'm going to eat even less. How can I do that? I'll take a GLP-1. I'll do this meal replacement thing. I'll fast. I just won't eat breakfast ever. I just won't eat breakfast and lunch ever. But it's just like this trajectory of eating less and less and less and less. I hate it. I think it's unhealthy. I think it's miserable, and it does not help you be a high energy, strong, productive person in any way. I mean, seriously, try to make gains in the gym when you're eating like that. You absolutely cannot. Like you can't. So I generally like people, men and women, relatively speaking, to be able to eat a lot of good, mostly good quality, nutrient dense food and to move a lot. That's what I think is ideal. And a healthy metabolic rate should come up to match that intake. That's what you want. But it is good if you're in a place where you're like, I need to lose some weight. I'm not that healthy. I don't think I'm eating that much. Track if you're, you might be eating way more than you think you're eating. And a lot of times it just comes, I find with these moms, mindless eating. Then I actually I ate my lunch and then I ate my kids' grilled cheese sandwich because it was there and they didn't eat it. And I just
finished it up because I don't want to throw anything in trash.
Yeah. And women are so well known for dealing with stress, right? We carry a lot of physiological stress just from life, being a mom, homeschool, work, your husband. It's a stressful gig regardless. And then we also do a really good job at just having horribly undisciplined thoughts and not giving our worries to God, trying to take on problems of other people that we have no business taking on. And that all adds to it. And what is one of the most common things that people do to spin down stress? I'll tell you, they eat. Okay. and physiologically, carbohydrates do spin down cortisol. So it's not just like
it is a real connection. There's a real connection.
You know, Joel Green, who we love so much, and we're hoping to get back on, in his book, he literally, his number one like remedy or solution for like high up CEOs who are stressed out of their minds and they can't sleep is a grilled cheese sandwich before bed. It's the dairy and the carbs. That is funny. And he's like, nothing works better than this. And you guys can take it to the bank. I've used it. It's literally a grilled cheese sandwich before bed and you will sleep like a baby. So again,
that's funny because I do like quesadillas, a cheese quesadilla.
Yeah. So, and I mean, again, maybe not like net positive, awesome health food. But there's a reason your body gravitates towards carbs. And when you don't sleep well, the next day you crave more carbs. That's a thing that it's more stressful. Your leptin's disrupted, your blood sugar is disrupted. So all that to say, I find that's the case a lot of the time with the people, and I'm thinking of moms, it could be men too, who are overeating. A lot of times it's a lot of mindless, unhealthy carbs, because I'm not anti-carb, but usually it's not like I'm going to have a baked potato. You know what I mean? It's usually like Cheez-Its, grilled cheese, chips, like that kind of thing that we are either just not thinking about or we are trying to manage our stress. So you need to be aware of that. And then you also need to possibly look at your life and be like, okay, what can I change so that my stress levels are not so high? Because that's another conversation. But all that to say, it's always really fun when you have a weight loss client, they start tracking and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm eating like 500 to 600 calories a day more than I thought I was, and it's an easy fix. So if that's you guys, easy peasy, but you won't know until you track. Right. Okay. Number 2, the second group of people, or the second reason why you really might need to track your food, at least for a week, maybe a couple of weeks, just to get a handle on where you're at. And that would be because you are under eating. And this, I think, for women is more common than the first one. So many women. And that has been, and I've talked about this a little bit. We talked about this in depth when we did our episode on reverse dieting. This has been, if I could boil down over the last like 3-ish years when I've really leaned hard into more nutrition and lifestyle counseling, if I could boil down just a few of the top, like, what's the best way to put it? Like, what do you call those light bulb moments? Like aha moments. Yeah. This is one of them. How many women, especially in their middle age, it doesn't tend to hit women who are younger because they haven't been starving themselves long enough. But when you get into your 30s, and usually it's late 30s, early 40s, like right on the dot, right on time, and they end up with all these health problems, and they literally are not barely eating anything. And they're either at minimum weight loss resistant, at worst, they're gaining weight. They're not just like holding, they're gaining weight and eating like 1,200 calories a day, which is not enough food, especially if you're active, which you should be. And I just can't, I really was
1,200 calories. Seems,
easy. Some 1,000, some 8. And I'm telling you, y'all, the intermittent fasting movement right now, the fasting movement, whilst I'm not completely against it, and I do think a fast or some intermittent fasting can have its place. I really do. But the intermittent fasting movement is absolutely doing damage to this group of women. And it's a lot of women where they're already under eating. They're already eating well below what even just basal metabolic rate should be taking in. And they're like, well,
it's not working anymore. I know I'll eat less or I'll fast.
And I'll call it I'll call it OMAD.
Yeah.
But what is OMAD? 1 meal a day. That's just an acronym. What is OMAD by any other name, it's 600 to 800 calories. If you can get 800 calories in your face with one meal, most people can't. That's not enough nutrients. That's not enough calories. That's not enough protein. It's not enough anything. So I feel very strongly about this. And I would say when I have, like I said, I don't work with anyone on the nutritional front. I make a few exceptions here and there, but if someone just says, they get on my website and they're like, I would like some nutritional counseling. I'm like, this is what we're going to do. I will not talk to you until I see your baseline.
Right.
More often than not, these women are eating way too little. Their metabolic rate is horribly low. Usually it comes along, not always. Usually it comes along with some sort of disrupted cortisol. So their adrenals are not doing well, probably due, if not with other things involved as well, to the high stress of under eating for so long. That's an incredible stress on the body. To not feed it enough over a really long amount of time. Like you can under eat for a day. Like you can have a stomach flu and like not eat anything for 2 days. Your body, I mean, it's stressful, but like you'll bounce back. You do that for 15, 20 years. What kind of what kind of
paying for it.
Signals are you sending to your body? So usually they're under eating, super depressed metabolism, and you can see it because a lot of these women are overweight. They're not. I mean, they are. Like you look at them, or you look at. I'm 5'2".
They've been eating 1,000 calories for 5 years.
They're 5 or more
day.
longer. They're like 5'2", 5'3", 5'5", and they're like pushing 200, some 250 pounds, which is heavier than they should be. And their doctors don't believe them.
Right.
Their doctors like eat less, run more. Clearly, and I mean, it's a crazy gaslighting situation, and these women are left feeling like crazy people. Because they're like, I'm not barely eating anything. And I am overweight and I can't lose weight and I don't understand. And I don't know that I can eat any less. Like, what do I do? So usually you see them under eating chronically, really low. Usually they're under proteined. I'm talking like days of like 40 grams, 50 grams when they should all be well above 100, disrupted cortisol often, and even more common with this trend is a low free T3. So their thyroid has downregulated, which it absolutely will if you're not going to feed your body. It's just going to be like, slow it down. And these are all, like we've talked about, built-in, survival mechanisms. It's actually pretty cool if you take a step back and look at it. It can be absolutely devastating.
If you're using it for real things.
Like if a real war happened, or you're put in a concentration camp or something, you'd be really glad that your thyroid did that and that you didn't die because your body comes down to meet you where you're at. And our body, as sophisticated and unbelievably complex and amazing as it is, it just doesn't know your particular circumstances. So it doesn't know I'm living in America in 2020. There's food everywhere. I just want to lose weight. It just knows food's not coming in. We're undernourished and we have been for a while. Shut her down. So that out of all the four, this one and maybe the third one are the two. This is so big, you guys, and especially ladies. Okay. Guys don't tend towards this as much. They could, but men tend to eat better. And it's funny. Men are just easier clients in general. I work with more women than men, but when I do work with a man, I get really excited because they're so easy. It's like literally just cut out.
Stop doing this, do this.
Oh, I mean, like seriously, like go from 3 beers to 1 beer at night. And like, I lost 10 pounds. Like they're so.
Go on a 30-minute walk a day. Three times a week.
I've told this story. I worked with several men who changed nothing except for they walked 30 minutes a day at their lunch break. They didn't change. They're just like in their little suit, just walking, lost like 20 pounds. So men are just easy. They're just simpler. So
that's
anyways,
funny. All right. So what's number 3?
I think that's good enough on the under eating thing. Track, you guys, track. And I'm just hold on one second. Ladies, you should all, with very few exception, in my opinion, be eating at least 2,000 calories a day. And you should have, the idea is to have a metabolic rate that is healthy and high enough to meet that. And in combination with exercise, some form of strength training, some form of cardiovascular training as well. The specifics of it would totally be up to what your particular, life and context and all of that is. You should be able to achieve a healthy weight and stay at a healthy weight, eating at least 2,000 calories a day. I push close to 3. And that is correct. And before insane diet culture hit us, that is on average what the average American was eating. And that was during a time, and I'm talking like World War II time. There's all kinds of literature. The Minnesota starvation diet is super well documented. That happened right around World War II time. It documents this very well, what the average intake of a young man during that time, and women were not much less than that. And we're talking like,
was this the 40s, 1940s?
Yeah. Upwards of 3,000 calories a day. Okay. Regular people. All right. And there was barely, obesity was so much lower than it is now. So riddle me that. you know,
Yeah.
like what's going on.
Yeah.
And so just that's a big thing, you guys. And please, if you're hearing this, ladies, especially, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's me, reach out to me. There are answers. They're hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
Reverse dieting is hard, but it is doable and it works. So let me help you.
I remember when you first started talking about reverse dieting and how counterintuitive
Very.
it obviously sounds.
It's incredibly counterintuitive.
It's like I'm 5'4", 200 pounds. I already eat 1,000 calories a day, and you're telling me to eat more and I'll lose weight.
Yep.
And I'll lose weight.
Well, and it's even harder than that because it's not necessarily eat more and you will lose weight. Some people do.
Yeah.
And you've heard me talk about
that.
Yeah.
You've had clients
where
where they started actually eating normal and they lost 2 pounds that week or something.
And I would say what I tell women if I'm getting them ready for a reverse, because it's a huge sit down mental, okay, let's talk about it, because it's hard. It's mentally really hard.
Yeah.
But I tell at this point, from my experience, I haven't seen actual statistics on this, but in my experience, I'd say about 50% of the women that I reverse actually lose weight during the process, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an incredible testament to how the metabolism actually works. But I'd say of the other 50%, about half of that just maintain, which is still pretty good.
Yeah.
To maintain your current weight and go from eating 1,200 to 2,000, that's still a net huge win, you know?
Yeah.
And some actually gain a little bit. And the idea is to do that process slow enough, gradual enough, and then even pause when you need to, so that you offset very much. You really, if you're reversing well, and you don't have anything weird going on, you should be able to get there, maybe having gained a few pounds. It shouldn't be anything catastrophic unless you're a special case. But yeah, it's incredibly counterintuitive. And the way I like to describe a reverse really is don't necessarily look at it as a tool for weight loss directly. Look at it as a process that's going to get you in a position metabolically where you then can lose weight. And it is the only way out. And this is a really hard sell right now in a land of GLPs, which is so popular and such a easier, immediate result giver. But I'm telling you, you guys, if you're already under eating, which most of you are, you go add in a GLP, which is going to cause you to eat even less. In the short term, you'll lose some more weight, a lot of it being lean mass. And the stats on that just keep coming in, like the high percentage of weight loss on a GLP, how much of that is your muscle, which is catastrophic, but you're just kicking the can down the road. You know, eventually you got to dig yourself out of that hole. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Reach out to me, you guys, because that is a big one. And you won't know unless you track. And women are blown away sometimes when they track everything and they're like, oh, I'm eating a lot. Oh, I'm eating a lot. I'm so full. And it's like 1,100 protein, 55, which is like half of what you should be eating. And they're just like, they can't believe it. You know what I mean? But if that's what you've been doing your whole life, it's what it's
of
your
course you're
normal.
gonna feel full. That's what you've been doing for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. So just like the people overeating, you know, it's like, it's really interesting. So tracking, very useful for that. Okay. Number 3. Yeah.
Real quick, just this is a related question.
Oh, you're fine.
What would be like the normal calorie intake for, you're 5'7", I guess for I mean, what would be your normal intake for just a normal woman, I guess? Yeah.
Well, what I just said, ladies, what I just said was, I would say on average, most of you should be active and eating at least 2,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
And for reference, I said, I'm really active. I'm 5'8".
How much of that is protein?
Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But I eat close to 3,000. So I'm just putting that out there.
You're at 3,000 calories.
Easy.
Wow, no wonder our grocery bill went up this last year.
It's me, you guys. It's me. I'm eating all the food.
It's the inflation.
It's me and Liv. Liv is absolutely just a piglet right now. She's eating so much and sleeping. She's just growing.
Our grocery bill. I mean, obviously we're buying more food for sure, but inflation's, I mean, it's a thing. Feeling it.
I want it to, I don't know what the lag time's going to be, but please, Trump, it's hard. It's hard, but that's rough guesstimations of what you should be roughly eating.
All right. Number 4.
And guys, even more. Okay. No, number 3.
Oh,
look, it's important.
Oh, protein. Because that's the question. That's the question.
I know. And I said,
so out of 2,000 calories, let me ask the question again then. Out of 2,000 calories, how much of that should be protein?
That's great.
And then how much of that should be ice cream?
Oh gosh. And really, those are the 2 main food groups.
That's it.
Yes.
It's steak and ice cream and Dr. Pepper and then the Scotch at night.
Oh, I thought syrup was on there.
Syrup's on there.
Syrup can be the tippy top of the pyramid.
Because that could go on top of ice cream.
Yeah, I mean, it can do a lot of things. If you're in a pinch, syrup is great.
Those are my food groups.
Syrup,
Yeah.
Was whiskey in there?
Yeah, whiskey. I
Okay.
said Scotch at night. Yeah,
Scotch at night.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Gabe's
pretty
gonna,
good food groups.
all of this said, you're probably going to outlive me.
Annie,
so.
Annie sent I know.
So
No,
stupid.
we do joke about that. Annie, you sent me, or we were listening to this podcast together. I forget what it was, and this gal was just going on how, you know, we'll eat all this like sugary yogurt. We'll think the sugary yogurt's very healthy.
Yeah.
And she said, you know, it's better to eat a bowl of ice cream than is that sugary yogurt.
Oh, I remember. Yeah,
remember
that's one of the things. It's like a glycemic index thing.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if you slap one of those on your arm and you're watching how your blood sugar responds to different foods, their point was like a lot of these yogurts, you know, like with the jam at the bottom.
Spiking things. And,
yeah, it's like you might as well just eat ice cream. It has less weird, you know,
ingredients.
like
it's
a good
just
quality ice cream is
it's just milk and
sugar,
right.
You know, a couple other things, heavy cream. You're like,
yeah.
And I mean, true.
And so since then, I use that against Annie.
He does.
This gal, this health specialist said I should eat a bowl of ice cream because it's healthier.
Yeah.
Than whatever.
I mean,
it's a good joke.
It's a good joke. It's a good joke. Okay, let's talk protein. So this is the third reason, and this is a really valid one for men and women. Women are more guilty usually, though, that you should track for a while just to see where you're at. And that is just simply your protein intake might be terrible. And this is hilarious to me because it's one thing to just guesstimate how many calories generally you're eating in a day. It's a whole other thing to be like, okay, how many carbs do you think you're having?
Right.
What do you think your fat intake is? Where's your protein at?
Yeah.
And protein is so, you know, I actually think this is going to open a big can of worms. Well, it depends on who's listening, but I think protein right now is a huge conversation. Everybody is obsessed with it. And anybody listening who follows other fitness influencers or other people in the space, they know that protein, it's just like protein. It's so important. You know what? It used to be keto, but now it's like, oh, that's too much fat. Let's just do protein. And obviously if you're doing carnivore, that's like almost 100% protein. You're not really getting, you can be higher fat or lower fat, but it's just a ton of protein. I actually think you can take protein too far. And I think a lot of people are. We are having, and this is something when we get Joel Green back on, I want to talk to him about this because he's deep dived this quite a bit, but we are seeing a huge explosion right now in America of colon cancer. And one of the theories is that you can get there by over consuming way too much meat. And all that to say, that's just one thing. Yeah, no,
I reject that.
No, I think you can. I think you absolutely can. But again, it all comes down to
the
like
Vikings weren't getting it, you know.
There's
I almost said the wrong word.
There's actually, I think, very few populations in the world that ate the amount of ribeyes, for example, that people in America are doing right now. Like you couldn't get that all year round. Like you would have to forage, you would have to eat roots, you would have to eat berries, you would have to do that some of the time. And that would offset the possible toxicities. Yes, you guys. I mean, a ribeye is delicious. I mean, listen, I eat higher protein than most people. I'm all about it. You need it.
Well, we usually have like steak, fish, something like that. Meatballs every night or something.
But if you're going carnivore, if you're like, I'm literally eating pounds of meat and nothing else, or pounds of meat and maybe some eggs, you know, for years and years and years, that's a heavily imbalanced diet. That's a crap ton
Who knows
of meat.
what's going on in your gut?
And again, kind of no one really in human history could eat that much meat. It just wasn't even physically possible, even if they wanted to. That you just there was scarcity sometimes. You just can't do that. So you have to eat roots sometimes. And as it turns out, and Joel talks about this, that offsets. You're right.
The potato and the ribeye.
It helps offset the possible toxicities of too much of anything. And I mean the same with meat. You want to have some meat, so it offsets eating too much kale or whatever.
I guess I buy what you're saying in terms of the amount of access we have to meat that maybe
and I think that's a big part
even
of
the Vikings
problem.
didn't have. Whatever.
Nobody has until now. Nobody has because of the money we have.
But I just think the studies that keep saying everything's linked to cancer.
No,
I remember at one point hearing like in the 80s, tomatoes could potentially cause cancer. You know, it's like
listen, pin it, let Joel talk about it. It has to do with alkalinity versus acidity in the colon. Okay. He makes a really good argument. And something's causing it because colon cancer is through the roof. So that was kind of a rabbit trail. Pin it, audience.
No, good conversation.
We will get Joel to talk.
I
actually think it's really important because it even is making me aware, like, because I love meat. Like me, I could eat almost carnivore if I wasn't concerned about my gut health down the road, health of my colon, my thyroid health, and those are all really important things. If I wasn't concerned about those, I would eat almost exclusively meat because I love it. But I don't. I add fiber in regularly for those reasons. But all that to say, that was a big rabbit hole. We're coming back. I think you can take meat too far. I think we have an obsession. And we're living in a time where everything is like extremes. It's like only eat plants or only eat meat or only, this is bad, that's bad, when I really actually think being well balanced is ideal. But all that being true, still so many Americans are, in my opinion, under proteined. Does that make sense? They're under proteined. So generally speaking, and you really won't know unless you track this. Okay. And I can't believe how off people are, because in general, when women just say, how much protein should I be shooting for? And I don't know them. I don't know what they weigh. I don't know how active or how much weightlifting they're doing, because obviously those are all nuances that might affect a little bit more, a little bit less. Maybe they're in kidney failure. You know what I mean? But if I'm just giving a general recommendation, I tell your average woman, hey, at least hit 100 grams a day. I probably eat a little more than that, but I do a ton of strength training. It works for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. But on average, if you could at least hit 100 grams a day, you'd be doing pretty good. And so many of these ladies are like, oh yeah, I'm probably doing that. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's just stick it, plug her in. And sometimes I just have them just track protein. I don't even, I'm like, just put in, anything that might have any protein in it. Put that in the tracker. So let's just see what your protein is at the end of the day. And a lot of times they're coming in at like 50, 60 grams, which is just not enough. So yeah, it's a very, very important macronutrient, and it's beneficial for so many different reasons. Obviously, we need it for muscle synthesis, recovery, repair. We need the amino acids. And I mean, it's not just like skeletal muscle. I mean, protein is a building block of almost every tissue in our body, right? So don't look at protein so much as fuel, the way carbohydrates would fuel you, but it's like the material that you need to keep your body alive and functioning, right? It's also your most satiating macronutrient. So for those women and men when they get tracking, their issue is they are overeating. A lot of times that comes in combination, not always, but a lot of times that comes in combination with low protein. And it's interesting because there's a hypothesis, man, I can't remember the researcher who it's named after, or he came up with it, but there's a hypothesis called the protein leverage hypothesis. And basically it's that, and this was proved in rats. It's really hard to do a lot of these sorts of things with people. It's like kind of not ethical, but, basically, the concept is that every mammal has a threshold of protein in a day or in a time frame that it needs to get to, or it'll just keep eating to try to get it. Does that make sense? So if you're like feeding, like you think of how kids eat and why they just keep eating and eating and eating. If they just eat cereal for breakfast, barely any protein, a quesadilla for lunch, barely any protein, and they just keep snacking and snacking and snacking. Part of it is the nature of those foods. Part of it is that we've trained kids to snack and it's hyper palatable. And there's a lot of things going on, but like a lot of the time our body will continue to cue you to eat until you've hit a certain threshold for protein. So that's super interesting. And that's been true in animals. I've seen it to be very true for people. So a lot of times when I look at a food log and I see somebody who's just eating too much and their quality of food isn't great, I just say, hey, listen, I want you to bring your calories down a little bit, but you know what's going to help that happen so naturally? I just want you to bring your protein up and eat it first at every meal. There needs to be a hunk of protein in some way, whether that's like a burger or, a steak or chicken, 8 ounces of chicken on a salad. It doesn't really matter the format, but there needs to, each meal needs to be protein centric. And I want you to, as much as you're able, eat it first because it completely changes the game. And it kind of takes all the, you don't have to be all nitpicky and all like, oh my gosh, what do I take out? Calories. You will naturally eat less if you're overeating. Because you ate the more substantive thing first. It's your most satiating. This is why I'm such a huge fan of having salads after dinner. Yeah, it's interesting. I love doing it that way. I do that away also. There's certain cultures that do that. Well, and isn't it funny that in America, I guess probably in a lot of places, but one of the most common appetizers is bread. Yeah. Which is carbs. And, just, and I don't know if there was like a mastermind behind it where they're like, do this and they'll eat more. I don't know, but bread will spike your blood sugar and make you want more. Really, it should be like whey protein or cheese, something that's actually going to stir up GLP-1 a little bit and help you to not overeat, you know, but I don't know that restaurants care about that. Maybe they want you to order more, but. Well, that's also my theory with the salad. Is you don't eat it first, eat it afterwards. Yeah. And then that foliage kind of lays on top of all the food and helps it kind of digest very well. The foliage. Yeah. The foliage. You like that? Is that a get? It just lays on top like a little like a little tent of foliage. It's like leaves falling down on grass. That's so nice. That is
So
almost
in our
definitely
marriage,
what's going on.
in our marriage, I come up with all sorts of ways to describe the way I think things working. I don't have real medical knowledge of it, but that's my theory, and I think it's a great theory.
I think it's adorable, and it's probably true. It's like a little canopy, and then it's like go to bed food.
Yeah, it just helps.
Yeah. That's great.
There you go.
Yeah. So anyways, protein's huge for a lot of reasons. However, I will say, man, I keep like rabbit trailing on this, but and I can't wait to bring Joel on to talk about this. What happens if you carnivore it or you over protein it too long? But
I'm gonna write that down as notes.
The people that are eating so much protein, I see a lot of nutrition coaches use that as almost a cheat to push down hunger, to keep hunger at bay, because nobody in America handles hunger very well. Like we just can't do it. Like if you feel hunger at any point at any time, it's like I gotta eat, we are like afraid of it, and we just can't. We're not tough. We're such babies about any amount of hunger pain.
Right.
I think you can overdo it, and a lot of times with the ladies who are under eating, especially if they've worked with a coach in the past, it's just like whey protein, chicken, tuna, more whey protein. It's like no fiber, no carbohydrate, no phenols. It's just protein, because they've figured out that keeps them really full. So you can take it too far. But all that said, protein is important. I think we need to overall eat balanced. A general recommendation, I did throw out that ladies at least hit 100. I think a lot of people could afford to eat a little higher. Not everybody, but some people, I eat higher than that. But a good general rule, there's all different opinions on this. I tend to sit around the 0.6 to 0.8 grams of protein per pound of ideal body weight. That's where I tend to.
How much does that translate in calories?
Well, there is 4 calories in every gram of protein, but most people don't measure it in calories.
I'm just curious because everyone talks in terms of calories. 2,000 calories a day, 1,000 calories. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, and it's actually funny. We tend to talk in calories in terms of total just calories, but whenever it comes down to macro, how many carbs should I be having? How much fat? How much protein? We always switch to grams, and that's just easier. But technically, carbs and protein are 4 calories per gram. Alcohol is 6, fat is 9. And that's interesting. Fat is almost double the amount of calorie per gram, which is why you have to be aware and don't fear fat, especially healthy fats, right? Animal fats, natural fats like avocado, olives, olive oil, things like that. But they do pack a huge caloric punch. And a lot of people who have kind of gone, hopped on the more ketogenic train, that's one of the things they run into trouble with. They kind of look at fat like it's magic and you can have as much as you want, but it's like actually that many macadamia nuts is like, there's a lot of
you can't eat that many.
Yeah, you have to be aware of that. So that's really interesting. Right. But and I just want to note that I said 0.6 to 0.8 grams of protein per pound of ideal body weight. That's like moderate high. That's a lot of people say 1. They say 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And I think that would be acceptable for someone who is in the gym tearing it up. I think that would be acceptable. It would make sense. There would be a little bit more need for that. But I want to note that the reason I said ideal body weight is because if you're like 300, if you're like a 300-pound woman and you want to lose weight and you need to lose weight and you're like 5'3", if I did that math off of your current body weight, of which a lot of it is body fat, right? I mean, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to go 0.8 times 300, that's 240 grams of protein, which is way too high for you. So what I like to do for someone who has got a lot of weight to lose, which is a lot of people, I want you to decide roughly what you think an ideal healthy body weight for you would be, and maybe that for you is like 180 or something. Do your math off of that. Okay. Because I run into women all the time who are literally trying to shove 200 grams of protein down their gullet every single day because some dumb trainer told them to do that or just gave them a math equation, and they are constipated. They are bloated. It is way too much protein for them. It's disgusting. Like, it's just so bad. Like, if it doesn't if it doesn't check the box of common sense and it's disgusting to you, it might not be correct. So remember that. Ideal body weight. Okay. Ideal body weight. All right. Any other things about protein? Did you make a note to talk to Joel about that?
Yeah. I'm bringing up my reminders right now. Yeah.
He just made a big post about it. I've seen other people talking about it, even at that big forum that happened on Capitol Hill just recently with all those health people. That was one of the stats that was listed, was that colon cancer is through the roof and nobody's talking about it, which is really, really
I just seen a study on that.
Okay, great.
I want to talk about it. Yeah.
Okay, last one. We can just wrap it up. One more reason why, and this is pretty common. It's helpful, and this one can be true in combination with some of the other ones also. But the fourth reason that it might be really helpful for you guys to track at least for a short amount of time is that you might be eating way more ultra processed food, refined sugar than you think, and this includes healthy things. Like it's a keto bar, or it's a whatever snack, or it's a all these food companies are really smart. And I think they caught on a long time ago that there's this whole population of Americans who are like, give me the Doritos, give me the whatever Pop-Tart, give me the, Fruit Loops, like the classic, not healthy, ultra processed food. They're happy to eat that. But then there's this other fairly large, and I think ever growing population of people who are like, I am a healthy person. I am a health person. And so they're like, we've got something for you too. Just as processed, just as crappy, not nutritive at all. But they're like, but it's keto, or it's carnivore, or it's high fiber, or it's zero fat. Like they're brilliant at all the, just using all the right words to get you to be like, oh, this is a health food. I can have it. I can have it every day. And I keep using women because women, I just work with a lot of women, but like, I can't believe how many food journals I'll look at. And it's like keto fat bomb. It's like 4 little treat things that have a healthy name. But if you look at the back, it's like 50 ingredients and like none of them are good. And it's just like, it's not a good healthy thing. There's like almost zero nutrient value in there. It's basically just a treat, right? And what they did is they took their sugar addiction and their need for constant treats, and they took the standard unhealthy one and they just put this in its place. Like it's really no better. And that really, again, guys, if you're eating kind of that way and you're thriving and you're feeling good and you're at a healthy weight, I mean, keep on going. It might catch up to you eventually. You might consider still making some choices, but if you don't, if you're doing great, fine. But if you're like, I'm overweight, I don't feel good, my blood work's bad, and that's you, and or you don't think it's you, but then you track and you're like, oh my gosh, I eat ultra processed food at every single day. That's I eat goldfish for my snack. I eat this, I eat that. It can be really eye-opening. And honestly, that's nice because it's an easy fix. I mean, maybe not, I shouldn't say easy. For some people it's hard, but it's a simple fix to just be like, okay, I'm just going to slowly start taking these sorts of processed foods out of my life, and I'm going to slowly start making swaps. It's going to be a cheese stick instead of the goldfish, for example, right? And it can be really hard. You have to change your mindset. You have to change your taste buds. You have to change how you shop. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If these are foods that you really like and it's going to be a struggle to not have them, just don't buy them. All right. Don't buy them still and be like, I just won't have them, because when it's 2 p.m. and your blood sugar's dropping and you're stressed, you're going to eat it. So just don't buy it. And start coming up with other things that would be a good swap for them. But again, a lot of us are unaware of the volume or the amount of this kind of food that we're eating until we actually accurately track it. And I remember in the past, Gabe, where we've had conversations about your intake, and you never tracked, you probably never will, which is fine. But I remember saying this to you, as your wife, I watch, I'm there. And you would always say like, well, I don't eat very much sugar. And he has, I'm not like a sugar Nazi, but he has a lot of diabetes in my family. Oh yeah. His dad, his grandpa. And his blood work shows us that like, we really need to be aware of
I
sugar.
lean that way.
Yeah.
My body does. Mentally, I don't.
The mind is good. The body
my mind is telling
unwilling to handle the sugar. But anyway, so we're always like, okay, we need to be aware of this. And we've had many conversations where you're just like, I just don't eat that much. Like I'll have ice cream, like,
once a month.
And that's pretty much it. And I'm like, you eat way more than that. You just don't realize it. Like you're not lying. Like you literally do think that's true. But I'm like, this and this and this, like, it's just crazy. The little bites, the little this, or I'll just have that. Or we were at a restaurant, or, we were at someone's house, or, and it doesn't in a day in your mind feel like that much. Half of it, you don't even remember. But if you write it down and then you're like sugar, eating out sugar, it actually can end up being a lot more, so it's really, really useful. And even if you guys don't want to go to the, take the pains of actually tracking, because that takes a little bit of time and effort and all that. If you even just do the little journal, just get a little notebook and just write it down. You're not going to get amounts necessarily, but I mean, chocolate chip cookie is chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah,
you know
right,
what I mean?
right.
Or like I went to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Even that can go a long way, and just create a lot more mindfulness and awareness around what you're eating, how much you're eating, and the quality and nutrient density of your food. And I will say that the tracking tools are really helpful also because it just helps you be more educated about what's in your food.
Right.
There's a lot of like people think of, for example, peanut butter as a protein. Actually, it's very little protein. It's mostly fat. It doesn't make it wrong.
Yeah.
It's just let's be clear about what it is, because as we say all the time on this show, categories are everything.
Yeah.
Exercise is that way. Stop putting CrossFit under the category of strength training. If it's a Metcon, it's cardio. It's not wrong or right. It's just get it under the right, get it under the right category. Like how much protein actually is in these beans. Yeah. How much, how much sugar is in the, it's very educational.
Raw peanut butter is horrible. That's the category. Raw peanut butter. So that's my category.
So there's fat, protein, carbs, horrible.
Yeah.
You put the kind
I like Jif.
Yeah, I know you do. I know. So does everyone. So what else goes under horrible besides the hippie ground peanut? See, I like that. Like when it's just like ground peanuts and salt.
Yeah.
If you add salt, it's super good. And you know what also makes it really good? That's
syrup.
I was going to say raw honey.
Oh,
actually,
that's true. That's true.
I would actually.
I could probably handle that a little better.
Rabbit trailed so many times, but because refined palm oil is the refined oil that is usually put into
Jif or whatever.
Yeah, because it emulsifies.
It's so bad for you.
Well, I don't think it's good, especially if it's a staple and your kids are eating it on apples and they're eating spoonfuls of it and they're putting it on sandwiches. If you're eating a lot of it, I don't think it's a good ingredient. It's cheap and it keeps it all emulsified, which is why it doesn't do the thing that Adams does or whatever, although Adams even has it.
Does it?
Yeah, which is so funny because our mom's always sold it as like eat this disgusting Adams. It's good for you. But the last I checked the ingredient list, it actually did have palm oil.
Oh,
but
wow.
If you go to like the bulk section and you just go and you just grind it, that's just ground peanuts. But if you and then also Kirkland brand does almond and peanut butter don't have any palm oil. It's literally just nuts.
Is Kirkland brand like regular peanut butter the way I like it?
Well, you wouldn't like it. I don't think.
It's still kind of the co-op-y way or whatever.
It's not the co-op-y way. It's just the ingredient list is nuts and salt. That's it. But
that's it.
If you added, I don't even know, it's not enough salt. Adding salt and adding a little raw honey really makes it good. Okay. Really makes it good. So that's a fun little trick for your kids.
I call it co-op peanut butter because back in the day,
I know what your mom. I know.
Yeah, my mom in Texas. There's like this co-op.
All of our moms did it at some point.
It was like some sort of co-op group of ladies where they all made their own homemade something that was healthy,
and
they would sell it. They would sell to each other,
and they would bring.
And mom would get this co-op peanut butter, and then of course if it sits, the oil starts to separate from it, and then so the oil gets on top, and then you gotta stir it every time.
It is a lot of work. I sometimes just scrape it all into my KitchenAid and just spin it because I'm just like I'm over it. It's so much. It's so much work. Yeah, I think all of our moms went through that phase.
That's funny.
The meatless phase and the
All right, is there anything else, baby?
I think that's it, guys. Okay. Reach out anytime. Okay, there's a lot here, and I think tracking is it's just a tool. It's not a lifestyle. Don't make it a lifestyle, you guys. You won't have any friends.
What are those people that they got to count everything, got to track everything? What would you call that? They're kind of
like obsessive compulsive.
Yes, there we go. Obsessive compulsive.
We've been married for so long.
I know.
See that? This is why I can do Twitter.
Well, my mind is still not recovered from the whole conference yet.
Coming up with the words.
Yeah, what is that?
It's true.
So especially those kind of people. Like, be careful.
Watch out. You could take it too far. If you have a history of eating disorder, you might want to stay away from it.
Yeah.
There's definitely people out there who shouldn't do this, but I'd say majority people you'd probably benefit just doing it for a week. Yeah. And again, reach out anytime, guys, if you have any questions about it. There's a lot there.
Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in to Water Break. If you guys want to download our app, our Fight Laugh Feast app, that's the best way to consume us. It gets us around the cancel culture of YouTube and the problems we've had there. So go to your app store, type in Fight Laugh Feast or Cross Politic, or maybe even Water Break. That might even work. And download the Fight Laugh Feast app. And there's a lot more content on there. There's a whole network of shows on our app. So make sure you guys check out all the shows too. Of course, what's going on in our network. So until next week, we'll be back next week.
Yep.
Next Thursday, every Thursday at 2:15 Pacific time. Thank you for tuning in to Water Break.
See you guys later.
I don't really like working.
I only work remotely.
I'm gonna need 8 weeks of paid vacation, maybe 12.
I take a lot of breaks. I feel more mentally healthy.
I'm gonna need a priority parking space.
Do you have non-dairy options in your coffee bar? Do you have soy? Do you have a decaf, half-calf kind of thing? Interviews are so boring.
How's your game?
Do I need to call my dad? You work for him, you know.
You guys are so intense. Like, do you always work this hard?
You don't run a daycare. You run a business. That's why you need redballoon.work.